The 2026 budget didn't just change tax law, it changed the game. Negative gear on existing property is gone, CGT discount reduced, because if you don't learn the new rules of real estate, you're going to be left behind. So the people that know the new rules, they're going to make money, and the people that don't, they're going to miss out, because this is your last chance. After this, you're never going to have this chance ever again for the rest of your life. Clock is ticking. You need to act on it now and start straight away, because literally, if you don't, you're finished. Hello and welcome to the Positive Property Show. I'm joined with Adam Albrecht. Hi Adam, how are you?
I am here. Good evening, everybody. How are we all?
We're going to talk about what most investors get wrong, and we're going to talk about tax. But what I want to do is talk a little bit about the news and what's been happening recently. Have you seen Minority Report?
Negative.
The sci-fi movie when they got those spiders going to his apartment, checking his eyes and checking up on him? Anyone seen that? Type in the chat. Really cool movie. This is the funny thing. It's now become almost reality. So what they're doing now in America, they're actually getting drones to do law enforcement. And they literally had this guy, like a homeless guy with a knife in his hand. They got a drone with an actual magnet, flew in, picked up the knife and brought it back out before they came in.
Wow.
Is that amazing or what?
It's technology.
And now they've got drones that spray pepper spray and ones that also got tasers on them as well. It's pretty scary.
It's the way of the new world. Are they
Exactly.
still testing those flying unmanned helicopters over in Dubai?
VTOLs. I mean, we've been waiting around for VTOLs for a long time. And I'll tell you my theory on VTOLs.
I think everyone's going to like it because whenever I think about technology, I think about money and property, right? So I thought VTOLs are going to change the property market quite dramatically when they come out. I'll tell you why. Because at the moment, there's a lot of places that are hard to get to, a lot of windy roads, difficult to get to, even though they've got beautiful views, or you've got little islands that are beautiful, but just hard to get to, right? And getting there is impossible. Getting a helicopter is going to be difficult. But if you had a VTOL, how cheap would it be to go to an island? So once that happens, imagine what's going to happen to islands that are close to capital cities. They're going to be worth a fortune. The value of the real estate is going to skyrocket. And then you got up into some hidden mountain resort, which is really hard to get to. With a VTOL, you just fly straight up really quickly. It's going to be worth more money. So suddenly there'll be real estate that was beautiful real estate, but it's just hard to get to. So it's not worth a lot of money. It's going to become worth a fortune. Imagine, there's a little island just off Sydney. I'm sure there's lots of islands and it's absolute beachfront, beautiful views. But at the moment, you just can't get to it. What do you think will happen to the value?
Yep, if they can fly. Well, I've been saying for years Tasmania is a great place, but the building cost is just too expensive. You can't get builders, you can't get materials. The trades come from Vic, come over on the boat, work for 2 weeks, go back.
It's expensive, but also hard to get to.
That's right. But if you could fly it over there quickly and cheaply.
But really, I mean, a VTOL's not going to help you get to Tasmania.
No.
Right?
You have to recharge it somewhere.
And the problem, I suppose, is the weather's not the best there, is it? You know what I mean?
For building.
Yeah. Anyway, let's start our presentation.
Okay, so this is what I want to talk about tonight. One big thing that happened recently, and fascinating, because last week, I'm going to reiterate what happened last week. Last week, the government stopped the ability to invest in superannuation funds with borrowing money for property, right? So you cannot borrow money, and I'm going to go through it and explain it again, because I'm going to keep explaining over the next 45 days, because everyone has to get it through their head and move and do something. But this is what happened recently. We had two super funds, First Guardian and Shield Super. They collapsed, and that the fund's worth $1.2 billion.
This is published today, so this is fresh off the...
This is fresh off the press, right?
The press, but look.
This is around about 12,000 Australians had their super, all their super in this fund. These 12,000 Australians, they worked hard, did what the government asked them to do, put money in super, and a lot of them are probably ready for retirement. They're approaching retirement, they invested in what they believed was professionally managed investments. The recovery is uncertain. Some may recover a small part, but many are likely to face substantial losses, if not everything.
Are they backed by the government? Like, you know how sometimes if you're with the big bank, the banks get backed?
Yes, super funds are, but the government fund is 170 million for the whole of Australia, for all super funds.
And this is 1.2 billion. So that's the problem, right? Even if the whole fund, and I don't know if they're going to spend the whole fund on two super companies, because this happens every now and again, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately. And this is the problem, right? A lot of these people that are running super funds, they're very good at marketing, they're very good at doing the numbers and all that, but obviously they've done something very wrong, because usually what they do is they get your money and they put it in index funds. And what they do is just get the top 100 funds and they put a percentage in each top 100 fund and do
Mhm.
nothing. They don't do any planning, they don't do anything else. And then what they do is they take management fees and fees for this and fees for that. If you want to do something else, they take fees and they rape the blind with fees. And all they do is in top index funds. But at least if they did that and nothing else, at least you're not going to lose your money. These
Yes.
guys, these guys obviously did something very dodgy, which is disgusting, that they would fleece all these Australians, steal their money and totally wreck it all when it's their super, which is disgusting, totally disgusting. And this is why I always prefer property, right? Because property is a tangible asset. You've actually got the title of your name, you stay in control, and there's long-term demand. And see, property is not risk-free, but quality property held long-term has been one of Australia's most reliable wealth builders.
Mm.
You should never invest in what you don't understand. And we can't blindly just let people take our money and do what they want with it and think we're going to get a good return. You really got to do your research and find someone that knows what they're doing, and someone that's got the right integrity and that's got the runs on the board that's going to help you. It's terrible this happens to all these people. Then this is the thing, Albanese and Chalmers cut the deal with the Greens. So now you can't actually borrow money in your self-managed super fund
Yeah.
for property. So the exact thing that would save you from losing all your money of this big company now is gone. Now, this is the funny thing, right? There's no lobby in Australia that makes money out of property, right? But when it comes to shares and super funds, we've got a $1.7 trillion worth of money in superannuation. It's one of the biggest funds in the entire world.
Mm.
So there's a lot of companies that would rather you not be able to put your money in property, because then they don't get any money out of it. And they'd rather you put it in their fund so they can make money off you. So this whole thing about, not allowing you to borrow money in super to help young Australians own property. Well, the original reason they did this in the first place was to allow young Australians to invest in property with their super. And now they're saying the opposite story. So I don't believe them. I do not believe them. And I think there's a lot of BS. But not only that, I really feel this is what's happening behind the scenes. I can't prove it, but I reckon they're getting paid off. The Greens are getting paid off to do this, because the Green political party, what do they stand for anyway? I don't know what they stand for, but surely
No.
they don't stand for let's screw around the average Australian, not give them the option, the freedom that we should have, the freedom to do what we want with our super money. It's our money, right? And they're saying don't let them do what they want, force them to put it into an index fund so these big companies, big management companies can make money off them and make a shitload. That's what it's all about. Because this $1.7 trillion, there's a lot of big companies that want a piece of that pie. And that's what they're doing. They've paid off the government, and now that's what they're doing.
But we got a housing shortage, George. That's part B. We got all these SMSF because you can't live in an SMSF
Yes. So you
property that you
have
own.
to actually
You have to
rent it
rent
out to
it out.
someone.
So
Exactly.
they're
That's
bitching and
exactly what.
whinging, saying there's no rental properties available. Where all these people wanted to put their, what on the line to buy an investment property and then rent it out to put properties back into the market. Now they've cut all that out as well.
Yeah.
They've made a big mess of this.
The government, what they say they're doing and what they're really doing is so different, right?
Mm.
I don't trust them as long as I could throw them, right? And the fact of it is, what they're doing is they're saying they're helping the average Australian, right? But what they're doing really is they're in the back pocket of big corporates and they're playing the game, and they're saying they're trying to help Australians, but really all they're trying to do is help the big companies make more money, nothing else. And all their new rules is all about taking more money off the average Australian and giving the big companies more money to make. That's all they're doing, all right? And they're a bunch of pricks.
Yeah.
right? And look, at the end of the day, we all voted them in. I didn't vote for Labor,
Someone did.
but someone voted them in. And the issue is that people are brainwashed. I was complaining about this on social media, and I've got a lot of people complaining and saying, oh, you rich investors just want more properties, and let's have a fair go for everyone, and this is great that they've stopped you able to borrow money in super. What are they talking about? And what I want to say is, one,
I don't want to be too rude, but these people are brainless idiots, right? That don't know their ass from their head. That's the problem, right? And I was going to try to be polite, but I thought, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to be polite. If you're complaining about average Australians
creating wealth to self-retirement, self-fund their retirement, if you've got a problem with that, then literally you can't tell your ass from your head, and you're a complete bloody lunatic. What are you doing, right? Forget it. And just to all my haters out there, you're all a bunch of wankers. Right?
Amen.
Right, exactly.
I'll get in trouble too, George, for
No,
backing it.
because at the end of the day,
It's going to drive prices up.
it's going to drive prices up. It's going to make it harder for people to rent. And that's the fact. So what's actually changed? I'm going to go through this again, just for people to know. What's gone forever? New loans to buy residential property in your SMSF is going to be gone forever in around 45 days. Maybe it's less than 45 days. The strategy itself is switched off for good. But the loans you already have, the commercial property and shares and ETFs and managed funds, managed funds where people make money off you, that's all still safe, which is great. So from the 23rd of June, we got around 45 days. So clock is ticking, and I'm going to keep repeating this every week for the next couple of weeks until this is finished. And then I'll move on to another topic. But if you're listening to this in the podcast, you watch me on YouTube, you're in the Facebook group, see if you've got enough money. And if you've got over 180,000 in super, that's around about the right number. Now, what you need to do is then talk to a qualified financial planner and see if creating a self-managed super fund and borrowing money and buying investment property is the right thing for you to do. Because this is your last chance. After this, you're never going to have this chance ever again for the rest of your life.
But can I just add, don't wait 45 days, because 45 days is when it shuts. Like, it takes a couple of weeks to set up an SMSF, takes time to buy a property. Like, you need to act. If this is something you want to do, you need to act on it now. Don't wait.
Absolutely. You need to act on it now and start straight away, because literally, if you don't, you're finished.
You missed out, yeah. Or in the other hand, if you've got an SMSF set up and it's not doing anything, we should probably think about doing something with that SMSF.
Absolutely.
If you want to, of course, speak to your
Yes,
financial planners.
You need to speak to a financial planner or talk to ours. If you want help, type super in the chat and my team will reach out to you and give you a hand if they can and see if it's appropriate for you. But look at this. Since 2000, we've had 30 plus housing affordability inquiries from the government.
And what's come out of it?
And, well, not one of them has made housing more affordable. Surprise, surprise. A lot. So they literally spend millions of dollars and get, I don't know who they are, some pencil pushers from university that have never had real life experience to run some numbers, do some tests and get nowhere, right? Mm. And then what they do is they come up with these cockamamie ideas. What do they come up with? Well, one, let's get rid of negative gearing on properties. Two, let's get rid of capital gains, increase capital gains tax on properties. Three, let's stop in borrowing money in super for property. That's their three great ideas after 30 plus housing affordability inquiries. And then they had some other examples where they were doing the 5% deposit, which raised prices and things like that. But every single thing they've done is really, because there's two parts of the puzzle, right? There's supply, there's demand.
Yep.
And if you want to reduce prices, you need to do one or two things, or two things even better, right? One is you need to increase the supply and reduce the demand. If you do both, you're really going to reduce prices. Would you agree, Adam?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, the only way to do it. Now, what the government consistently does is they keep increasing demand and reducing supply every single time they do something.
Yep.
So every
That's what
time they
they've
do
done now.
something, they do the opposite, right? So they're holding hearings, the rents go up, price go up, and first homers buyers fall further behind. So they were given 2 months to solve housing. Think about that. So this is the thing. Canada, what they did, guess what they did to improve housing? They cut demand. How did they cut demand? They cut immigration. And guess what? Their rents went back down again after exploding. Next slide, please. So rents in Canada rose 25% as millions arrived post-COVID. They've had all these people coming in. In October 2024, they cut immigration's target sharply. 18 months of rent declines followed. The rents have gone 8.4%. Nothing crazy, but back to a realistic normal figure. The typical tenant now saves $2,000 every year. The quality of life for people there's improved. And that's how they did it, right? But Australia didn't cut immigration. Instead, they rewrote the rules of property investors built their strategies around. And then the 2026 budget didn't just change tax law, it changed the game. Negative gear on existing property is gone, CGT discount reduced. Both changes took effect on budget night. And now they've got the SMS stuff as well. Literally, on all existing properties, investors have lost 30% borrowing capacity in one night, just like that. Now, that's going to affect the market. People don't realize this, but there's going to be a dip. Property price is going to drop in certain areas because if you've got 30% less borrowing capacity, what do you think is going to happen to property in those areas, Adam?
It's going to drop because people can't afford it.
That's right. People can't speculate like they have been, right? So this is what it looks like. The same investor, same lender. Before budget night, the night before, you're sitting pretty. You've got an $800,000 borrowing capacity. After budget night, you've got a $500,000 borrowing capacity because now lenders are now modeling cash flow without negative gearing deductions. So that's a big drop in what you can afford. You've been looking at this $800,000 house, sitting on the sidelines. Now you can't even buy it because you can't afford it because your borrowing capacity is not there, even though you make the same money and everything else like that, but you can't negative gear that property anymore, so therefore it can't happen. So the investors who are about to get hurt aren't doing anything wrong. They're just playing by the old playbook. The rules have changed. The strategy didn't. Because if you don't learn the new rules of real estate, you're going to be left behind. So the people that know the new rules, they're going to make money. And the people that don't, they're going to miss out. And this is what they're saying. 1 in 3 investors expected to leave the market. So fewer buyers means less completion and more pressure on prices. That's fascinating. Now, I wouldn't put much into this because what else are you going to do? Put it into a super fund and lose all your money? Like, what else is there in Australia to put your money?
Yeah. What have you got? Shares, property?
Yeah, and shares, they haven't been that good either. So there you go. And what they're saying is Australia's biggest cities could lose 9% of the value this year. The thing is, there's 15,000 suburbs. There's winners and losers. And it's easy to get scared by this headline of 9% loss. But what we have to understand is this is going to be specific suburbs, specific types of properties, right?
It's mostly that high end as well. Like it's, your 1.5 to $10 million properties.
Yeah. Well, look, if you're in a suburb, and funny enough, next week I'm releasing the no-go zones, the 100 suburbs you shouldn't invest in. And I've got a lot of suburbs there, like in Western Sydney, where the average price is $2 million for a property and has a 2.5% return, right?
Wow.
Now, who's going to buy that, right?
No.
It's just, well, it was okay before. If you're an anesthesiologist, you're making $1 million a year, right? You buy that property, it's negative geared, you're losing money, you're fine. But there's the problem now. You can't negative gear it anymore, right? So suddenly, all those beautiful big tax deductions that you were getting, you're not going to get anymore. So where those properties that lost a lot of money, a lot of really rich people that are highly educated, like specialists and doctors and all that, they like the bigger properties with big tax deductions because it's just easier getting one big property losing a lot of money than bothering getting 5 little ones, you know what I mean? And they really love that market. But now that market has dried up for them. They won't be able to use it anymore because they love those big tax deductions because they're paying so much tax. Like, what is it, 50 something percent?
40, 48, 47% or something.
Yeah. So they don't care. They don't give a shit. They're getting it all back. But now it's not going to help. The market isn't pausing. This is the market repricing. And that's the fact of it. What does it mean for investors? Well, smart investors aren't leaving the market. They're repositioning in it because what's happening now is certain properties, and this is what I've been talking about for a while, the affordable properties that are brand new are just going to be doing really well. Because one, they're better cash flow. Two, you got your negative gearing with them. Three, they're not hard to invest in because it's easier to get your borrowing capacity.
Well, didn't you do your numbers on buying a new property versus secondhand?
Yeah, if you buy a $700,000
Deductions.
property, and I'm going to go through this next week, I'm going to show you the
Okay.
examples. But if you buy an $800,000 property right now, one brand new and one that's 1 day old, the brand new one is worth $300,000 more, about $290,000 more just in this tax savings that you get, right? So it's crazy. Yep, so the government took away tax benefits on existing properties, but they left the door wide open on new builds. Negative gearing, CGT discount, full depreciation is still available. And that's why the market is shifting. And this is where the smart money is going. Yep, smart money is moving into new builds. 80% of investors are doing new builds currently, right? And that's what we do. They reckon it's going to go to 40%. That's that's more than double investors are going to move.
And what's that going to do? Push prices up of new properties.
Well, it's going to be harder because the problem is there's only a certain supply of new properties.
That's
We
right.
know that. And it's going to get harder because there's more investors, more than double the investors wanting to go there. But the thing is, the people that are smart and do it first are going to get in first because a lot of them are going to take their time and it's going to be a while before they work this out. And a lot of people are going to be sitting on the sidelines. Whenever there's a lot of negative news, people sit on their hands and wait, thinking, okay, is there going to be a drop? Am I better off waiting a year, saving 9% on a certain property? You know, I saw people do that during COVID. I saw people doing after GFC. I've seen them do it all the time. And they sat on their hands and thought they were going to save 5% and missed out on 40%, right? So, but reposition isn't just about buying different, it's about understanding your investment differently. And next week, I'm going to go through the numbers and show you the exact numbers. But I wanted to go through what's happening in super and all these people, 12,000 Australians who've lost their money. You know, I feel sorry for them because this must be a hard time for them. And I'm just saying, try not to make that mistake. You've got to be very careful. Okay, so let's go through our case study and then we'll get on with the show. Okay, so John Thomas and his family. Hey, Sarge, how are you?
Hey George, I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. What I'll do is I'll go through the case study and then I'll stop sharing and highlight you and I so we can talk about it. Okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, they bought an investment property in Caboolture, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1 car, and they paid $535,900. 10% cash deposit, $53,590, set in October 2025 for $535,900. Current market value, $735,000. Current profit, just under $200,000. Nice.
Just while I've got you there, George, I just got the new price list for Caboolture. It's
Okay.
$749,900 up to $778,990. I just checked it then.
Yeah, okay, so go back. So 735, what is it now?
The cheapest one, $749,900. So
Okay, so
you're
750.
another 15 grand more.
Another 15 grand. See, there you go, Sarge. In 5 minutes, you made another 15 grand, but Adam, yeah. Adam, I love that
Love
you're
it.
on top of everything so well. Like, you're like, and you know what? It's hard because we do this, we put the numbers in, and then a week later, it's gone up again. It's like, okay, what do we use? You know what I mean? Okay, let's keep going.
That's the updated.
Yep, so 199,000 in 8 months, but actually it's more than that. It's over 200,000 in 8 months.
Yeah.
214,000. Okay, Sarge, welcome.
Thank you. How are you? How's the
Good,
little
good,
one?
good. Really well, really well. Thanks for asking.
That's good.
Sarge, where do you live? What do you do?
I live in Sydney, western suburb areas. I work for a water company. I look after their internal CRM systems, basically software, that kind of stuff.
Okay, lovely. How did you decide to get involved in property?
I was owner-occupied a few years ago, and I had a bit of equity in that house, but I could never take money out to try and buy property. Like I couldn't service the loans back then.
Yep.
And then something happened in my life. I had to actually sell the house back in 2024. Had a bit of profit in that. So it was, okay, what do I do with this extra money? I started talking to some buyer's agents. Didn't really like what they were saying, how much they were charging, all that kind of stuff. And then you started popping up in my feeds everywhere. And I did a bit of research on George the man, and here I am.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so what made you decide to join us, not someone different? Why Positive Property? Why George Markoski?
But, yeah, like I was saying, the buyer's agents were charging 15 to 20 grand per house to find me a house. I'm like, all right, if I get 5 houses, that's 60, 70,000 just going to them, which seemed like a big waste. And your costs were way lower than that. And the fact that you run these things every Thursday made me realize, okay, you actually care about your members. So I joined up.
Okay, yeah, awesome. I'm glad. And look, I suppose this is very unusual. My favorite night of the week is Thursday night. I get to meet our members and clients, and you and I are talking now, and we haven't met before until now. We're doing a little case study, and it's pretty exciting. But what's exciting also, we've got another 60 people on here that have joined the program. They get to see what you're doing, and maybe you saw someone else on the Thursday night, which gave you more confidence to go ahead, right? And, I do a case study every week. I couldn't hire that many actors to come in and say they were clients, right?
No, I've heard some great stories over the past 2 years that I've been a member. It's been fantastic.
Yeah. So what was the hardest part about your journey investing in property?
Knowing what to do with it, knowing where to invest, how to invest. When I was trying to do it on my own, I was looking at high rental, low cost houses. And then when I looked at what you guys were doing, where it's, think about high growth first and then rental come later, made a lot more sense. So it was just a matter of finding the right people to educate me, really. And this team's got a lot of education in it, so it's great.
Yeah, I suppose we do a little bit of education every Thursday. You keep going, and you got your coaches and everyone else. How was the support team around you to help you go through the process of buying a property? Did that make it easier than you expected, or was it harder, or how did it work?
It's a breeze. Charmaine did the due diligence at the beginning, went through every detail, answered all the questions. Billy was always available for contract questions and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually quite easy to get through that whole process on the first property. Communication was great, always up to date with what was happening. If there was any delays in the build, I was very happy with the first build, first purchase.
Yep. So if you had to do it on your own and you didn't have our team and everything around you, do you think it'd be a lot more harder?
Yeah, because then you have to find your own brokers, your own kind of lawyers, your own people looking at contracts, and it's just the circle of safety is amazing because you've got connections everywhere that you can reach out to, and then you've got your coach. You just send an email, pick up the phone, and you can answer questions straight away. It's great. To do it on your own, it gets hard. It gets confusing. You can get lost as well.
I guess doing it on your own, how do you know you've got the right property? That's the one question.
That's the big one, yeah.
Yep. How did you answer that question when you were buying the property through us? How did you know it was the right property compared to doing it yourself?
From your presentation at the beginning with why you chose it, around, the sustainability, the area, all those kind of the facts that you guys put together, it makes sense. Whereas I would never have seen any of those. That whole presentation was 12, 15 slides with a whole bunch of information and why you guys have chose that area. So it was good.
Yeah, so I'd imagine if you tried to do that research on your own, that would take a long time, wouldn't it?
And it probably wouldn't be correct either. So
yeah, but also, I mean, out of 15,000 suburbs, which one do you do the research on? That's the other question, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've never heard of Caboolture before until I joined Positive Property. So
there you go. So you've never heard of the suburb. 8 months later, you've made over 200 grand. Tell me, how much did you pay for the property?
The Caboolture one?
Yeah.
So 53,000 deposit, 535, and now it's 200,000 equity, which I can use for the next one now. It's great.
Yep. And you made the 200,000. What period did you make it?
I settled in October last year. So what's that?
Yep.
8 months. I can't do that working, that's for sure.
Excellent. So it looks like your future's looking very positive.
It's a great start, these 8 months. Like I said, I'm looking at refinancing now, getting equity out and moving on to my next property, which I've paid deposit for the land last year on that one. Yep. So just waiting for all that to get started again. And just, that whole rinse and repeat motto that you guys have is exactly what I'm doing.
Beautiful. Great. So you've used the equity and now you're getting into your next one, your second property already. Yeah. And how long have you been in the program for?
I joined in August 2024. So 2 years.
2 years. Okay. Excellent. Mm-hmm. So 2 years and you got one property, made 200 grand, and you got one more coming.
More coming, yes.
Fantastic.
It's going to start soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got a question. How would you sum up in a one sentence Positive Property?
Amazing company to get ahead.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Sarge, thank you. I really appreciate your time. and look
George,
forward
thanks
to
for
seeing
having
you
me.
on your journey. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Adam, ready for our Q&A?
I am here.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick fire Q&A within the public group, and then we're going to go in the private group and talk about updates on properties and different things like that. Okay, good everyone. Here we go. Most people, if you ask them where their money is in a super fund, they've got no idea. It's really worrying. Absolutely.
True. I wouldn't have a clue where my money is in super.
Yep, the government got no idea about supply and demand. I try to explain what gold price represents, but they can't comprehend it. Absolutely dumb. If government party is there, a chance of them undoing this, or is it gone forever? Oh yeah, so what they're saying is if the Liberals or One Nation get in, what's the chance of them changing this? I think very small.
But anything in the government takes a long time. It doesn't just happen overnight. Like it'll take a while to wind this back.
Well, the thing is, I mean, one, you need political will. They're going to want to have to change it for a good reason. Two, then you need people to vote on it and support you. And you're going to have to, this is the big issue of government. It's a lot easier to get something in that big corporates want because there's a big payoff and there's a lot of will to do it. But if something's there for the average person, it's a lot harder to get through because there's no one giving them the big incentive except for votes. And I don't know if you're going to get votes just because you reintroduce borrowing in the SMSF. I don't know if it's big enough to get more votes. That's the problem. Someone said negative gear on existing properties. So did we lose negative gearing? I thought it was grandfathered. No, we did not lose negative gearing. Anyone that's already got negative gearing, they've already got it. But anything from that
Moving
date
forward.
onwards, when you buy something, if it's not a brand new property, you lose all negative gearing. You're zero. With the new laws, what is the best strategy and structure to going forward? Good question. Well, funny enough, the structure we're currently doing is the best strategy with the new laws, which is great. But also on top of that, next week, I'm going to go through the numbers and show you how it works in detail. Yep, 214,000 8 months. Beautiful. Thank you. George, will I still be able to negative gear and depreciate my existing 6-year-old property that's in my SMSF going forward under the grandfathered rules, or will the tax benefits be cut forward? No, you still be able to negative gear and depreciate it. Well done. We just signed a contract for Caboolture for under 750 with the aim of buying 6-7 in the market. Do we still think we will get high growth in the next 12 months? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've got the prices for Caboolture. Here's something I've got prepared earlier.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Caboolture coming in later this year, the price is going up to 789, and then prices in early 2027 are going to start at 804, and then in prices in mid 27 are starting at 819. So
There you
that's
go. There you
that's the
go.
next release of
So, Sarge,
next
you know what's happening in your property over the next 12 months, right? Okay.
Yeah, and that's what they're saying now. These prices could go up from there, but they won't be coming down, I can tell you right now.
No, they won't be coming down because these developers, they model things really well. They spend a lot of money to do this, so they know what they're doing.
Well,
Okay.
that's just the pipeline of the next developments that are coming.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go in our private group and run the public group. Thank you so much for watching. If you need help, you're super, type soup in the chat. My team will reach out to you. And now we're going to go private and start doing some Q&A about what we're currently doing, what's happening and everything else like that.